So as you can see there, we have got an issue with an ulcer or wound. Hi, my name's Dave. Welcome to Koi World. Today we're going to be discussing everything to do with salt, how to use it, when to use it, and the reason that I'm using it. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So there's a couple of things really important to consider when using salt. However, the pond salt is just basically plain old cooking salt. However, we are going to do our own research to see what's going to be best to suit our pond. However, if you are unsure what cooking salt is and how to use it, what you are best off doing is, like us, go down to your local aquatic shop, go and ask them for some advice and see which ones they recommend to use on your pond. Some plants can't tolerate salt at all, and it's very important that if you're using salt in your pond rather than a salt bath, it's very important to know that salt can only be used with plants at a maximum of 2 grams per litre. Now, if you go onto the internet and go and search through some forums, you can ask a dozen different people and get a dozen different answers. And the reasons being is because a lot of people might have different opinions, such as we might use salt all round. The Joe Blogs down the road might only use salt when his fish seem to have a parasite or some kind of an issue. As a first protocol, he might use it there and then. As a salt dip, or whether he adds it to his pond, is another different question or scenario how you can use it. Now, the two main ways of treating a fish or salt in your pond is literally adding salt to your pond, or taking a fish out and adding it to a bath of your pond water with added salt in it. Now, the consistencies do vary, so make sure you buy the right salt for the right treatment, and also take in consideration the quantity of salt you will need. Salt bath in particular can be used at a much higher dosage, but read your instructions. The good thing about a salt bath is it can kill parasites and bacteria by causing them to shrink, shrivel and die off. Some parasites will not die off, such as gill flukes or white spot disease. Some parasites, such as gill flukes or white spot disease, will not necessarily die off using salt. This is because a part of their life cycle, they are embedded underneath the skin, which protects them from the salinity challenge. Skin and gill flukes are quite often a common cause for ulcers on fish that can turn into bacterial infections. Now, if you have been following my channel, you will see that I've got a recent video based upon flukes, how we treated flukes, and the outcome was quite remarkable using Fluke Solve. Now, although we have done our water checks very, very frequently, and we've also got a microscope and done extensive scrapes on multiple fish and still found nothing. There is no signs of flukes, gill flukes, skin flukes, costia or any other type of parasite. So based on that information, I'm now going to pop down to my local aquatic centre at Bridgemere Water Gardens and hopefully find out if they've got the stock and the right salt for me. So far what we've decided to do is come to Bridgemere Water Gardens and hopefully they've got the salt that we need. Let's go inside and find out. Just have to try and remember which way the one-way systems go.
Oh, they're nice.
Now these are quite interesting because you can have them pretty much set up anywhere, literally anywhere, and they're plug and play. You can put a simple filter system in there and keep anything from little tiny sticklebacks to a somewhat decent sized goldfish. That is a quick setup, but that's not what we're here for today. What we're actually here for today is buy the salt, so let's go on
Hunt to find salt.
Find it. Okay then guys, so we have got a few alternatives of salt right now, and my biggest question is, I've got 9,000 litres, so which one, if any, is going to do it? So first question is, what have we got here?
Depending on the size of your pond, really depends on what I'd recommend for you. So this one is only going to do 2,000 litres. It's a pond tonic.
So that's fair to say that that's not going to get
that
used
one's
to
not
it.
going to be suitable for you.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Up next, which is probably the one I would personally recommend, because I know that it's supplied to us, designed for fish keeping in general.
Okay.
Which is going to be a pond tonic. Now, it doesn't have to be this brand. There is other brands out there. This is just the one we've got in stock at the moment.
And is it other brands that you usually stock of that, or is it mainly Blagdons that you deal with in that particular product?
For us, it's mainly Blagdon.
Mainly Blagdon,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then we've got the ultimate bag, which is actually 25 kg. Am I right in thinking then, Steve, is that for the much bigger ponds, or is it still got a limit on the size of the pond you can use?
Well, that's an interesting fact, because this treats pretty much the same as that bag there. So again, I don't really know the manufacturing process of these two products,
Right.
but in terms of the size and weight, that does as much as that.
Right,
is what we
okay.
can ascertain.
And last but not least, this one that you've got here, I'm assuming that you've possibly used this at some point.
We have indeed.
But we won't go into details to give you an exact fact on that. So PDV, what would PDV be used for in an alternative to this, is it?
Yeah, well, we get asked to stock these products, okay? So various koi keepers and general pond keepers, it's something that they've used for years and years, so we stock it for those. And from what we understand of it, is that this is a food grade salt.
Clearly, because it says. This might be a bit of an unknown product.
This
then,
one
is
is a little
fair to
bit
say?
different.
Okay.
From what we ascertain of this one is that it's used within animals, so animal care, and we can use it on our fish systems.
Right.
But again, the go-to one that I would use myself would probably be that one there.
Yeah. And unfortunately today, I would have gone with that one myself, but there isn't any in stock at the moment, and I'm eager to get some in the pond. So, alternatively to this one, Steve, which one would you point me in the right direction of if I was to purchase one today? And now I don't want a fact of what you want me to buy. What I'd rather is just tell me which one you think is more convenient for a 9,000 litre pond, just under the circumstances of putting salt in a pond, rather than me treating the fish.
Yeah, well, the reason I'm going to choose this Blagdon one here then is because, one, it tells me quite clearly on the packaging how it is to be used. Okay, it will tell you the information of how much you need to put in your pond to treat how much water. So for me, that's safer for you to use at home, whereas this comes with no instruction as to how to treat your pond. You need to do your homework and mix the right quantities up yourself for that.
Okay, brilliant. On that note then, I think I've made my decision up and I'm going to go for the Blagdons. Only on this case, just because it simply tells me a little bit more details what I need to know. So I'm going to make my opinion up right now and purchase the Blagdons. Leave a comment below what you think you would purchase, and if you've got a different alternative, let me know. Well, so far that's been a wonderful trip, very helpful and useful trip to Bridgemere, especially with the opportunity to visit Ripples, get some salt. So we're now going home, get the kiddywinkles and take a look at these instructions and see if we can get their salt in the pond. Right, so we've just got back from Ripples with Pond Guardian Tonic Salt, as you've just seen. We've read the instructions, and quite frankly, I don't want anybody taking any advice from us on this one, simply because we're new to it and we're trying the best of our abilities from our opinion on this. So the best thing to do in this case is, like yourself, read your own packets, read your own instructions, and ask your local aquatics for your own help and advice, as we've done in our case. Right, so what you're watching here is definitely not what I'm recommending. I'm just showing you from my experience, my opinion, what I'm doing. If you follow it, I'm not taking responsibility, so don't comment below saying that your fish have died or I'm doing it wrong. Well, you can tell me I'm doing it wrong, that's perfectly fine. The fact is, comment down below whether you think I'm doing it right or wrong. Either which way, I'm still going to do it. And I've already done it before you see the clip. What I would suggest to somebody that might not be sure on how to do it or how to go about doing it, what we've decided to do is just get a little plastic container instead of an actual quarantine tank, because we just can't get access to any of them at the moment. You're laughing at cheeky. I'll put it into the water so it stays afloat, which means if the fish was to jump out, it's only going to jump out into the pond, just a little bit safer. The only reason we have done that is because at the moment we've got nothing to sedate the fish with. That hasn't come in time just yet. And the other thing I want to point out is that there is plenty of things on the market, such as treatments, that you can't use with salt. So you do really want to consider your options. If you're going to use salt in your pond, just remember that come springtime, if you need to use some other medication or treatment, you might not be able to use it when you're using salt. You might have to flush the system out. So what I would say is bath the salt separately to do in the pond, unless you know what you're doing with the pond and you don't plan on using other treatments. If you do, I'd always consult with your local dealers or anybody that's experienced and get your own opinions on that. But just bear in mind that some treatments can be effective when using salt. Look, man, I'll be brave. I'll brave it in the cold. In this cold and wet and miserable day, I'll brave it, baby. He over had his coat. There you go, pumpkin. There you go. Right, so first things first. So I've put what I believe to be of a decent quantity of salt. The quantity that I'm putting in there at the moment is not just to put in there and that's it. The other purpose of putting it in here is because I know the amount of water that I've got in there at the moment is perfectly aligned with this bag. However, it does recommend on the bag to gradually add it over 3 days. I've done a bit of decent research and a bit more digging on that, and what that is usually referred to is if you've got plants in your pond, adding a lot of salt in there straight away can affect the plants. We haven't got any plants in here. What I would recommend is if you have got plants in there, read the instructions first before you go ahead and do anything like this. Because what we're going to be doing is once we've bathed this, hopefully within a 5-minute window, if the fish turns onto its side, we can just tip it straight out into the pond rather than having to handle it again and put it through a bit more stress. Just our opinion, not a fact. And as I said to you, it's quite a cold time of the year.
I've currently
you can't heat it up. Sorry.
I've currently checked the temperature of the pond.
Yep.
It's at 9.1.
Okay.
At the deepest end.
Well, that's even better then, because it was 7 degrees the other day, so it's already increased to 9.1 today, so that's 8.
And it's only 8 degrees outside.
Yeah. So potentially, if you want to heat your pond up now, I mean, you can potentially heat your pond up to about a degree a day. We haven't got time for that, and the fish are deteriorating, so we're going to go for the salt bath treatment, and then continue it by putting it into the salt in the pond. Feel free to comment below whether you agree or disagree with this, and if you've got a different opinion, because it is a really, really wide kind of subject. It's a wide spoken about subject. Some people completely disagree with it, some people agree with it. And hopefully you'll notice that when the commenters, I can almost feel you going for the keyboard. You're not supposed to do that, you're supposed to do that. I can almost feel it.
So,
Well, feel free to spit it on me out and comment with whatever you want to do.
Hold Mummy's hand. Go on then. 1. Good darling. There you go. Good boy. Science.
You're right there, pal. So I've got my alkaline. We've already caught the fish. We don't want to stress it out too much. So we've got no calmers or anything like that. So all we've done is we've caught the fish already, got it in the holding net just there, and then it's just easy. We can take it straight out, put it in there, and then we can time it up to 5 minutes with this quantity of salt we have. Yes, we can see some of it's undissolved already, and realistically there's no way of knowing it without actually testing the level of salt with the salinity. What's the thing I'm looking for? The salinity.
Salinity testing.
The thing that we've got that we can't find.
The salinity reader. It's like you put it on the.
Comment below if you know
I can't remember what
it.
it's called.
One of these by any chance? We've got one from the marine tank. We can't find it at the moment, so because we just want to get this done anyway, so we're just going to go ahead and get it done by what we've been recommended by a Japanese koi expert / vet. Whether he's right or wrong, we'll soon find out.
Why is he taking scissors?
Oh. You don't want to cooperate.
You see there, what I've just done there is a bit feisty. So the first thing I did there, if you didn't notice already, I put my hand over his face so he can't swim forward. And what that can do with the koi is just help them stop moving around, because the worst thing you want to do is put him under more stress than he already is. Now I will say this, it's very important this is as well to take notes and do your research before you do things like this. As I'm doing it here, I've already taken my safety precautions into place, and you've got a bit of a time window of about 5 minutes. Now we've got to keep an eye on that fish for 5 minutes, so first of all we need to check what time it is now.
1:28 p.m.
1:28, so in 5 minutes from 1:28 this fish needs to come out. However, if the fish starts turning onto its side prior to that, get it out straight away. And now if we put the fish just slightly on its side, you can see all the issue that it's having there. It's clearly got some kind of a bacterial infection. Now what I would like to actually do is perhaps clean up this area, especially when the treatment comes for that. So unfortunately there guys, the battery did run out on our GoPro Hero 8. Batteries are a nightmare on this bloody thing, so give me a comment below if you've got any recommendations on better cameras with longer battery life. In the meantime, what we did there is we just continued with the process of that treatment. We haven't used the rest of the salt in the pond. However, there is now a certain amount of salt in the pond. So we are going to be consulting with our expert advisor on what to do next before we do anything. In the meantime, we have had the product Acra Flaving come from Kashuri. Does say 1%. We are going to do a little bit more research on that before we get to use it. And also we have had the treatment kit from Kashuri Koi, which is for ulcers, wounds and abrasions. We are going to do another video on that itself. Hopefully we won't need to use it, but I'm pretty confident that we are going to do that. However, if you do want to watch part 2 to this video, which is going to be a follow-on onto the treatment, if we get around to it, all you've got to do is like the video, subscribe to the channel, and smash that bell icon, and you're going to get a notification when we do that video. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. We have had a fantastic time today. And most of all, happy koi.